What's the skill? What do you teach science students in relation to communication? This is what I'm really intrigued by.
Oh, look, we teach them all sorts of different things, from essentially a real respect for their audience, so that whoever that audience is, making sure we really respect our audience in terms of how much context and background information they're likely to need, because we don't ever want to alienate anybody, but we also don't want to be condescending. Really thinking about language, what language is going to be appropriate, and really encouraging our students to recognise that they've been taught a very particular formal academic style of writing and speaking that does not work for a lot of audiences.
Welcome to the Find Your Influence podcast. This episode, proudly sponsored by the Guinea Group of Companies, an organisation that helps leaders upgrade their mindset, upskill their leadership, and uplift their teams. If you would like the opportunity to sponsor an episode of our podcast, please reach out to the team at the Guinea Group, theguineagroup.com.au, the team at theguineagroup.com.au. Can't wait to hear from you. And if you would like to be a podcast guest, click on the information sheet that is available on the podcast page. So we've got Associate Professor Jen Martin today with us, and Jen's going to tell us about her life and her work. And Jen is into leadership, science, communication. Jen's from the University of Melbourne. Jen's done a whole range of cool stuff and has got a whole range of recognitions and awards. So congratulations on them too, Associate Professor Jen Martin. Tell us, just for all of our listeners out there, what is an associate professor versus a professor? What does that look like in the academic system?
So in the academic world, there are 5 levels of appointment. Where you begin is at level A, which is a tutor, and then level B is a lecturer, level C is a senior lecturer, level D is an associate professor, and level E is a full professor. So there are very involved promotion processes involved. You don't just get told one day, oh, we think that you are now an associate professor. You have to write these crazy long documents arguing why you are already operating at that higher level and you should be appointed at that higher level. So full professor involves, a hugely impactful, very broad, extraordinary career in doing all sorts of amazing things. And for most people, it takes quite a while to get there. And you have to be brave enough to write the application knowing that you could get knocked back.
Wow. Yeah. And it sounds like a thesis level document. I'm sure it's not
look,
that
I'm
big.
Exaggerating a little bit. It depends on the university, somewhere between 10, 20, 30 pages. There may or may not be an interview involved as well. You really have to communicate very effectively and make a case for all the ways that you are doing quality work and having impact in lots of different areas. So teaching, research, service, engagement, all sorts of different things. So it's a very demanding exercise in good communication.
Nice. And the effort is worth it, obviously. And I'm going to say not just for the pay or the job title, there must be something else more intrinsic that comes with it, or is it just the recognition?
I think it's about lots of things.
Yeah.
I guess once you get to those higher levels, it's an indicator to the people around you that you are making a useful and solid contribution. And so maybe people listen to you a little bit more. And it's kind of a universal thing in most parts of the world. People understand those different levels, although they're slightly different in some parts of the world. So yes, you get paid more and less. Yes, I guess it's the recognition from your peers, but it's also about giving you further opportunities as a leader to hopefully do useful things.
Nice. Oh, thank you so much. There would be
everything you wanted to know about academia.
Oh, I know, right? And if I had my other camera working, sometimes I flick it over and I have a little bit of that going on.
Certificate.
Oh, I know. There's a few degrees and there's some postgrad stuff up there, and postgrad in research, would you believe? So I was heading.
So you know all about it.
Oh no, not. I'm talking about expert. I know that I got knocked back. I know my master's thesis got poo-pooed.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sure you worked really hard on it.
I know. I did. Would you for 3 years, and because I didn't put some stuff in there that the lecturers thought should be put in around leadership, so I studied people, and they said, "Oh, you haven't covered enough stuff." And I went, "Okay, cool." And then I just tapped out at grad cert. So anyway, so that's my little research story into academia, and I've never understood why my lecturers or my supervisors were professors or da-da-da-da-da-da. Now I know. Thank you for sharing.
That is my pleasure.
Now, talking about sharing and talking about being an associate professor and professor, you sort of said that it allows you to influence a little bit more. And I'm going to use the word influence. You said share knowledge and contribute. Your word was contribution, which I like. Thank you.
Yep.
I would say that's influence. Can I call you Jen? Is that okay?
Of course.
Or is it Professor
please.
Jen? Like what's?
No,
Yeah.
no.
Right.
Jen is more than fine. Thank you.
Thank you. What's the contribution piece mean then, Jen? Is there some influence in that? Like, do you feel like you're an influencer in the academic world?
I mean, I think the word influencer these days carries a hell of a lot of baggage with it. I don't know that I would ever want to call myself an influencer, but I think in the academic world, I'm someone who made some quite unusual choices and followed a much less kind of well-trodden path. And so I think I've had influence in that regard because people can see that I followed a pathway to really build a program of work that I believe very deeply in that didn't exist beforehand. And so I guess influence came down to trying to convince the people around me that they should be supporting what I wanted to do, not just because I wanted to do it, but because it was a really important thing for our students. So yeah, I guess if you think that's an influencer, someone who brings about change and has contributed to other people thinking differently and paying attention to things differently, then yes, I would say that is influence. I mean, influence is really about trying to find win-wins, right? It's about knowing your own goals and furthering your own goals while meeting the needs of other people and convincing everyone involved that they're both getting something good out of it.
Wow. I agree. It's no good one of us winning and someone losing and us trying. That's actually manipulation.
Yeah, 100%.
Beautiful.
And people won't come along and support and champion your goals unless it also aligns with their values and what they need. Otherwise, you're on your own.
I love it. For our listeners or our watchers, could you please, Jen, take us into that world of why was your program of work so unusual? Why was it market leading, or why was it pioneering?
So picture me, I grew up spending a lot of time in nature. My parents both loved nature. My dad was an academic. I spent a lot of time, camping, hiking. My dad was a frog biologist, so I got to hang out in swamps with him looking for frogs. And so I guess I always grew up thinking that the contribution, if we use that word again, that I would make would be in the world of biodiversity conservation. I grew up with this very strong sense that animals and plants and ecosystems, they need advocates because they can't speak for themselves. And so I always thought that was what I would do. I learned to scuba dive. I really loved being in nature. But so it wasn't surprising I did a PhD. That was a very field-based PhD. But I got to the end of that and really felt at a total loss, to be honest, because what the university tells you when you're on this academic trajectory is that you need to write academic papers, go to academic conferences, kind of build your scholarly track record. And it's not that I didn't want to do those things, but that wasn't why I'd gone into it. I went into it because I wanted to make a practical difference in the real world. And so what I realized was that the information I'd found out during my PhD, what I needed to be doing was sharing that with local farmers, local land managers, local politicians, people who could make decisions about these animals and these forests that I'd worked in. And they would never read academic papers. They would never go to academic conferences. And so I felt at a complete loss because even though I'd studied at university for a decade doing a variety of things, no one had ever once talked to me about how do you communicate scientific ideas to diverse audiences, including non-scientifically trained audiences. And I just felt completely inadequate because I had no idea how to take my knowledge and make it have some use in the real world. So from that point on, rather than following the kind of standard academic career, which would be to do a postdoc, which is a post-PhD position where you do more research, and to really build a big research team and to do that, I decided that what I wanted to do was to teach, and specifically to teach communication skills to science students, because by then I'd done a lot of research and I knew that the number one skill that people need to get a job is their communication skills. So if we weren't training our science students in communication skills, we were doing them a huge disservice. But more importantly than that, or equally important, almost all research in Australia is publicly funded. It's funded by taxpayers. So I think that ethically, the people doing that research therefore need to make sure that, you know, the public, taxpayers, can find out, what did I do? Why did I do it? What did I find out? What does that mean? And if we only write up our stuff and put it in academic journals, which are behind paywalls and written in ways that you cannot understand unless you've studied science,
and
we're not meeting that need. Well, exactly. So my whole career then, you know, I made this major pivot and was counselled by a lot of people that it was a very bad choice, because they said, you know, unless you keep up your research career, you're not going to be employable, you're not going to be competitive, research is really important. Whereas I'm like, there's nothing that I am so committed to right now that I want to research. What I want to do is support science students across all disciplines, and in fact scientists out there in the world, to make sure that they can be inclusive in their practice. So, you know, science traditionally has been quite elitist and has been, you know, we're trained to write and speak in ways that no one else can understand. Whereas I think science belongs to everyone. Everyone needs to be able to make evidence-based decisions. And so as scientists, we need to be inclusive. We need to share our work in accessible ways. But if you've never been trained how to do that, you don't know. So, you know, when I first started saying, excuse me, why don't we teach our science students communication skills? The answer I got repeatedly was, you don't have to teach that stuff. They pick it up by osmosis, which is fundamentally wrong. We don't pick up skills by osmosis. We have to practice them and get feedback. And, you know, it's an iterative process to become skilled at something. And so if scientists or people in any specialist field aren't good at sharing their work more broadly, I don't think it's their fault. They just haven't had the opportunity to learn the skills. And I don't think that's acceptable. So yeah, I now have a job that didn't exist. I made it, I created it, and I love it. I absolutely love what I do.
That is impressive.
Well, I can tell you all the hard parts if you like. It took a very long time for what I was doing to be accepted. I had a very long sequence of short-term contracts, no security. I had a lot of people counsel me that what I was doing wasn't a good idea. I was told several times I would never be promoted because I wasn't producing research, publishing research. There were some pretty dim, dark years there along the way, but, you know, all's well that ends well. I can tell you that things are going great now.
Good on you. Congratulations. What pioneering. Can I ask you a question? And this might be a weird question and one that you've probably thought about. If communicating science information was the thing, why wouldn't you? Now, this is a naive question, so please be gentle on me.
All questions are good questions.
Oh, thank you. In my mind, I'm just thinking, why wouldn't you put your communication stuff into a research project and then maybe do both and go, this is why it's important. Here's some research to say why our students don't learn how to communicate by osmosis. That's just a weird thought.
It's not a weird thought, and that's absolutely. So my team, we have been involved in some research. We certainly look for other people's research and share it. And just to be clear, I'm not in any way the first person to have done this. Communication programs exist in other places. It just didn't exist where I was at the University of Melbourne. So yeah, I'm not trying to pretend that this hasn't been done really effectively by other people in other places. It just didn't exist where I was. And absolutely, what we teach is evidence-based. You know, if I'm teaching somebody how to manage public speaking nerves, I'm not just making stuff up. I'm referring to the research and saying what the research suggests is that here are some strategies you could work with.
Nice. Love it. And, from me too, I'm the same. I lean on research so much. Yesterday, we gave away a paper to people, printed out and said, go away. The 100 years of work, occupational health. It was a meta study, right?
Wow,
And
great.
that meta study said one of the most important things to keep people safe at work is the importance of the micro decisions that frontline leaders make. No one tells frontline leaders that.
No.
You know what I mean? Like you're so right. Science is so valuable when
Yeah,
it's
but
used for decision
I
making.
think that is exactly indicative of the big picture problem that I'm
Mm,
working within, which is
mm,
that in many cases, really high quality research has been done by highly capable, intelligent people, but the
mm,
reward structures they operate in mean that
mm,
they are encouraged to feel that their work is done once they've published it in a good quality peer-reviewed journal. The problem is that peer-reviewed journal, that information is very unlikely to make it out into the real world unless those people, have maybe particular opportunities, particular
mm,
leadership within their team that encourages them to do that. Maybe a journalist
mm,
finds them, but the
mm,
reward structures that most academics are working in, it's
mm.
not about getting your work out into the real world nearly as much as
Absolutely.
it's about make sure you've published it in a good place and other academics, other researchers are reading it, which is
Nice.
only part of the equation. It's really important, but the
Yeah.
second step of getting that information out to other people in the broader community, I think is just as important, but it's traditionally not valued
Absolutely.
in nearly the same way.
Thanks so much for sharing. And I always say the researchers never get credit. The author of the book who picks the research up and does something with it. For example, Mayer and Salovey did emotional intelligence. Daniel Goleman wrote the book on it. No one's heard of Mayer and Salovey.
Yeah.
And they were the ones that come up with the research around EI. So yeah, I think you're 100% right. So in saying that, Jen, what's the skill? What do you teach science students in relation to communication? This is what I'm really intrigued by.
Oh, look, we teach them all sorts of different things
Mm,
from, essentially a real respect for their audience, so that whoever that audience is, recognizing that if you're asking that audience to give you their time and their attention, their two most precious things, that you need to honor that by really delivering something that has been tailored according to their needs, and has been tailored in every respect. So you need to start with something in the opening hook that is immediately going to convey the value of what you're doing to this audience. It's going to be, engaging, captivating, making sure we really respect our audience in terms of how much context and background information they're likely to need, because we don't ever want to alienate anybody, but we also don't want to be condescending. We teach a lot about storytelling techniques and narrative, really thinking about language, what language is going to be appropriate, and really encouraging our students to recognise that they've been taught a very particular formal academic style of writing and speaking that does not work for a lot of audiences. We teach things like how to apply for grants, how to write journal
mm,
articles, how to write news articles, how to use social media tools effectively to build their professional profiles, how to network, how to apply for jobs, how to get the most out of going to conferences, basically any situation in which you might share your work with different audiences. We teach about that, how to communicate effectively about climate change, how to go on the radio, how to film, make good videos, infographics, visual communication. I mean, some of these things we bring in outside experts because my team
awesome.
doesn't have expertise in
Yeah,
everything.
that's it.
And we
Wow.
really draw on our network. So we have a lot of fabulous people who we ask to come in and
Nice.
share their expertise, including former students who are now out in the workforce and have really learned some things that they want to bring back to the classroom.
If you ever need any help around public speaking, we train that as well. I know you've got heaps of people as
Ah,
well, but
excellent.
it's just such an important topic to train. And
Yes, it's one of my
all the
favorites
stuff.
because a lot of people are really anxious. Yeah, a
I
lot of people
know.
are very anxious because they've had poor experiences and not enough support to develop
Yeah,
their competency and their confidence. And if you can
that's
be a
right.
confident public speaker, it can change everything for your career trajectory, because every conversation, one-on-one or in a bigger group, every job
Mm,
interview, every talk, every radio interview, every
mm,
podcast, being able to express your ideas in clear ways while maintaining, a conversational approach rather than I have to write a script and learn it. It's life-changing. I love teaching public speaking.
Oh, yeah. Changing the world by the sounds of it.
Oh, I think if people can feel good about themselves and confident enough to express their ideas, the world depends on hearing from diverse voices, right? You think about all the problems out there in the world. I think science has at least some of the solutions for many of them, but we need to hear from all sorts of different people who come from all different cultural backgrounds, people who are members of all sorts of different minority groups. And if they've never had the chance to develop the skills and the confidence to speak up, we might never hear from them. And that would be a complete disaster.
Which is around psychological safety as well. So researcher Amy Edmondson did the research and the book. How do you give people a voice? How do people feel heard? Yeah, and how do you create cultures in organisations like yours, even when it's a sort of a coaching relationship, a teaching relationship? How do you give students that ability to express themselves? And I'm also thinking about all the research that's been done about diversity, the improvement in decision making, and the outcomes that come from diverse groups. Unbelievable.
Yep, it's really important.
What a great conversation. So I know what your answer is going to be to this question, I'm guessing. Probably mum and dad. Dad was a frog biologist. I love that. I've never met a frog biologist yet. That's really cool. Who else influenced you? Who influenced you academically? Who inspired you to go and do great things?
Look, it is such a hard question. And of course, my dad, without question, but not just because he took me into the field, but because he, decades before me, chose teaching over research and chose making science accessible to a broad range of people. So he role modeled a whole lot of stuff that became really important to me. And also he's an extraordinary writer, and he taught me how to write and how to edit. And look, lots of other people. Yes, my mum, because my mum wasn't allowed to go to university, but she became a really very skilled natural historian and photographer and lab worker, despite not being kind of allowed to pursue that stuff. Look, just this week I've had the pleasure of celebrating Jane Goodall's life. I've done some radio segments talking about honouring Jane, and as someone who worked as a female field biologist, not in Africa and not on chimpanzees, possums, northeast Victoria, a lot safer, a lot easier. But she really trailblazed not just women doing field work, but also bringing this sense of humanity and compassion to field work. So before Jane Goodall, no one would have ever given an animal in the field a name. It would have been seen as highly unorthodox and anthropomorphizing and completely inappropriate. Whereas I came along all these decades later, and it was completely fine for me to name my animals that I was working with and to really uncover some of their personality characteristics and, observe their behavior. So I think Jane Goodall was hugely, hugely influential. And then within my own workplace, I think it was the people who became, I sort of alluded to the fact that it was really, really hard and took a very long time to create the teaching program that I run now. It was, it was quite difficult for a while there, but I had a few key allies who absolutely agreed with me that teaching communication skills to science students was not just this strange left field optional wacky thing, that it was absolutely central to the education of our students. And those allies really supported me to develop what is now a really thriving, well-respected teaching program. So people who bought in or already had bought in before I came along to this notion that communication skills have a place in a science degree, without them, I probably would have given up at some point along the way, I think.
Is that right?
So, well, I had 10 one-year contracts, right? And I had
10 one-year contracts.
Which was, just to be clear, that was legal then. So I'm not in any way saying that anyone did anything wrong. No. It's not anymore, but it was then.
No. But what I mean is there was no security in that.
No, and there was just a constant questioning of, is what I'm doing, of value.
Legit.
Yeah, absolutely. And so having some key allies who really took both emotionally supportive but also important logistical steps to making this thing an ongoing reality and supporting my ongoing employment, that was pretty amazing. Yeah.
Jen, I feel like I'm talking to, a Jane Goodall.
Oh gosh, please no.
No,
She
I
is
know.
a whole
That'd be
different
too
kettle of
much.
fish.
This is like
Jane Goodall is just extraordinary. I've spent a lot of time thinking about her since she passed away, and there's so much to learn from her approach to the world and her ability to constantly talk about, the fact that we need to be hopeful for a better future. And, she's basically saying, this could be the end of humanity as we know it, but that's not a reason to stop fighting and stop trying to make the world a better place and stop making solid contributions to a more sustainable future. I mean, what an approach, right? Just powerful. Amazing.
Powerful. Wow. And if there's
incredible.
Anything that's inspiring and motivational, that's it, isn't it? Wow.
Yes. She's incredible.
Did you ever meet her?
No,
Did you ever
I
go
have
to a conference or anything?
I have a lot of colleagues and friends who met her. Sadly, I never did, but I know some close friends who had the absolute privilege of interacting with her quite closely.
Right.
Yeah, amazing. But if you haven't yet watched it, sorry, I was going to say, if you haven't yet watched it, she actually recorded a documentary earlier this year called Famous Last Words, on the understanding that it wouldn't be shown until after she had passed away. So it's just been released on Netflix. And it's quite emotional and powerful, hearing from her what she wanted us to know after she had died. It's pretty amazing.
And there are some snippets on social media, and some of them are a little bit controversial, about who we should be sending to other planets, for example.
She has a list of people she thinks should be off this planet.
Go on, put them on a spaceship, send them off. Go, Jane Goodall.
I mean, if you're 91 and no one's listening to this till after you've died, why not say what you think?
Say what you want. So go. And I think people like that have earned the right to say what they want. You know what I mean? And I actually thought when I listened to just, minutes of those, I thought, why did she actually leave it? What was it about Jane Goodall that was it a respect thing? Why did Jane want to leave that till after? Why couldn't she say that when she's alive? Like, we respect her and we know that it would come with the right intent. And this was the first thing that I thought, why wait till you pass? Why can't you say that when you're alive? But maybe she was worried about pissing too many people off or something, or, upsetting them.
Or maybe she just hadn't had the platform. My suspicion would be that she wouldn't have had any qualms saying those things while she was still alive. Right. Perhaps she just didn't want to give them airtime. She would much rather talk about more important things than some of these people who are not contributing anything useful to the world, I think.
I love that take on it.
That would be my suspicion, but who knows? We never get to ask her.
That's right. And just we'll be grateful for the contribution that she's made, and to people like you who look up to her. Oh, that's so cool. Hey, talking about people that have influenced you, and we've talked about influence, and everything that you teach is influence, obviously.
Yeah, it is.
Really, because communication is influence. Have you got a human, a person, someone that you just, go, you know what, I'm just so proud of how I was able to take this person on. And you might, because you're a professor or associate professor, and you're going to be a professor, you've got a heap of students. Is there one you can remember? Is there one student you go, you know what, I'm so grateful that they came into my life. I was able to influence them. I was able to have a positive impact. Is there anyone that you really sort of can look back on and be really proud of, or not really?
Look, I couldn't single out anybody. I mean, obviously my own children, without question, fall into that category without any question. But I think in terms of students, I mean, I am so privileged, Anton. You couldn't imagine how many brilliant students I've had the opportunity to work with and to talk about really important things like imposter syndrome and perfectionism and procrastination, and how putting yourself out there and being visible and communicating brings all sorts of vulnerability, and hearing people who just do the most incredible work and are really committed to developing their skills. I just couldn't single
Wow.
anybody out. And some
I
students
get
with
that.
a lot of challenges, physical challenges, mental challenges. Students who at the start of the semester would say, there's no possible way
I
I can
can't do
stand
it.
up in front of the class and talk about my work. It's just not possible. And then over the course of a semester, practicing, taking on feedback and getting to the point that they are really excellent public speakers. But, I've been teaching this stuff for 15 years now, probably 200, 300 maybe students a year over 15 years. It's quite a lot of students. And there's just, and I stay in contact with many of them on LinkedIn and on Facebook. And, I get to see the careers they go on to have and the influence they have. I mean, I think that's the best thing about my job is this ripple effect of students who spend time with me or with our team as students and then go out into the workforce with this belief that part of their job is to make their work accessible and part of their job is to think about the different people who might need to be included in what they're doing. And then they bring that culture to their workplace or to their university, whatever they're doing. And this huge ripple effect that then joins ripples from other people in the world who have similar views to me about how important inclusive practice is. And, we end up with just these cascading and overlapping ripples of people who are thinking about the bigger picture of why they do the research that they do and what impact they want to have. Because not many people go into science thinking it's going to make them rich or famous, right?
No.
They go into it because they want to make a difference in the world. And the communication is a key ingredient in making that difference. And so, yeah, just literally hundreds and hundreds of students that I'm so proud of. Just, yeah, amazing.
Not many people can say that they've influenced 15 by 200. Love to know the math on that. I don't know the math, but that's a lot.
That's
a couple thousands.
Definitely a couple
thousand.
Yeah. Look, I feel really lucky. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've worked really hard, but
of course.
I also feel very fortunate to be in the position that I'm in, that, I get to work with the brightest of the brightest. Yeah, it's incredible.
Good on you for you started with luck and then you went to fortunate. I love the dichotomy between those two words. Luck means it's just showed up for you. Fortunate means I've put myself in positions where I might be able to make a difference to other humans, and people have given me the opportunity to do that. Because sometimes we've got to get the opportunity from a university or from those people that were giving you 1-year contracts. Yeah, and nearly dying at work. And I tell that story as public speaking, and people say you're lucky, and I go, yeah, and then they say you're lucky now. No, now it's fortunate. Yeah, I might have been lucky then, but now it's fortunate.
Yeah, totally agree.
And I got to tell you, I'm fortunate to talk to you today.
I feel the same way. Thanks for the conversation.
I cannot believe you who I'm talking to. Like, we do all the research, and we know you're rewarded, and
it's good for my ego. I tell you what, if you want to just keep on it, it's doing great things for me.
This is what you do. Stop it. No.
Exactly.
And what I'm really interested in is you talked about there was person in interest, and what we've got here, I don't know where Deb found it. Deb's coming and going. I think Deb's just gone for the day. Deb sits over here, and I hope Deb listens into some of these conversations. Deb's just setting up a workshop for tomorrow, a full day tomorrow, and we've blown our printer up because we've got 50 people coming, and we're trying to print 50 workbooks tomorrow. I know, right? And I always say to Deb, did you hear that? Did you hear that? And Deb goes, oh, yeah, I was sort of listening. Deb pulls all this together for me. Chasing possums at night to learn about their sex lives. Now, that was intriguing. I was thinking, I've got to ask Jen about that.
Well, so that was my PhD. PhD.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, so basically there's a species of possum that I was working on in northeast Victoria called the bowbuck. That's the Indigenous name, or the mountain brushtail possum. And look, I don't know how much detail you want to hear it in, but essentially in most mammals, males are larger than females because males compete with one another to get access to be able to mate with females. In this particular species, quite unusually, it's females who are larger than males.
Oh.
And an amazing researcher called Rick Howe back in the 60s had documented a couple of times that he'd put out traps. So you trap these animals in kind of big cage traps. You bait them with apples and peanut butter because the animals love it. And a couple of times he'd recorded a male and a female. Exactly. He'd recorded a male and a female going into the same trap, which means they were really close to, because of the way the trap mechanism works, for them to both end up in the same trap, it meant that they had to be really close together. And so that turned into this idea that maybe they were a very, very unusual mammal in being monogamous, because females were larger and because obviously they were hanging out closely together. But no one had really done the kind of detailed work to find out if that was true or not. So when I came along in 1999 and then through the early 2000s, my work was really both looking at the animals during the day, finding out where they were sleeping. So they sleep in big old trees with hollows, following them around at night, working out who they were interacting with, what sort of area they were covering, and then also doing the genetic work to work out which males were actually fathering the young in the population. And over many years, coming out and being able to say what their social system was like, what their mating system was like, and understanding how that was influenced by what humans do to the forests that they live in, basically. So the quickest way to say that to someone is I was studying the sex lives of possums, pretty much.
So Dad was a frog biologist. Are you like the possum biologist? Are you the possum whisperer? Is that the story or not?
Well, that's the thing. Like, I haven't done this for 15 years now. So, as I said, I thought that my career would be working in conservation biology. But, after that PhD, I morphed to do. So, look, I still love nature. I spend a lot of time running in nature. I don't, I still love that stuff, but it's just not what my job is anymore because I found a different calling. So
I get it. No, cool. Thank you. No, I get that. And thanks for humouring me and just telling me a little bit about that part of your life, because I just found it intriguing when I read it. And the other part that I found intriguing, which you just mentioned then, talk me through the running, Jen Martin. What you see, I'm hearing marathons.
Yeah, I'm doing one on Sunday. So I'm currently in my taper. So the goal for the next few days is to eat a lot and not run very much. So,
right. How's that working out for you? Because
oh, look, tapering's fun. You get a bit kind of itchy. Running for me, I was a really unsporty kid. I grew up believing that me and sport, we had no relationship with one another.
Zero connection. Right.
Exactly. But I always loved the idea of running. And so in my 40s, and I also have a back problem and I was told that I shouldn't run. But in my 40s, I kind of went, maybe I'll just give this running thing a go. And just look, and don't get me wrong, I'm so far not, so far the opposite of fast. It's not funny, but I can run for a long time. I've done marathon, quite a few marathons, ultra marathon, and I just love it. And I think the reason I love it is because there's no expectation of being good at it, and I'm not competing with anybody but myself. So, people who come spend our time in this quite hierarchical, competitive, individualistic academic system where you really have to be good at what you do. For me, rocking up at the start line for a race and knowing that I'll probably come 10,000th, when your kid says, are you going to win? And I'm like, no, I'm going to come 10,000.
Don't you love that question?
And I just and I love the adventure because you never know how it's going to go, right? You rock up on the start line, particularly for long races, and you just have to see how it goes on the day. And that kind of uncertainty and that sense of it doesn't really matter. This is not my job. This is not anything that, no one else is depending on my result today. It's very liberating. And I just like the challenge. Marathons are quite challenging and I love the challenge. So, it's exciting. It's very exciting.
What a great answer. I've never heard people put it like that. It's liberating because there's no expectation. You're
not very good at. I'm not very good at it.
Well, for our listeners out there, Jen, what's now? I know you're not good at it, and I know you probably don't even know this. What's your PB? What's your marathon time?
My current marathon PB is 4 hours and 9 minutes, and I've trained very hard for the last 3 months with the hope of running under 4 hours this Sunday. So I'll let you know next week. I've really worked very hard on my training, this training block. My son has been coaching me. My son is an excellent runner.
Good.
He's been coaching me and made me do all sorts of scary speed work that I normally think
interval
I'm
work,
not capable of. Yes,
right.
I've been running on the running track.
Is that right? Good
so
on you.
Yeah, so look, if the weather's good and it's not too hot or windy and the planets align, I reckon I've put the work in that I should be able to run under 4, but we'll see. It may not happen, and if it doesn't, that's fine.
And you reckon you're slow? That 4 hours it would be way quicker than the average female, now that you're in your 30s, average female age group runner.
Yes, I'm definitely in my 30s, considering I started running 10 years ago in my 40s.
Nice. You and I are probably the same vintage. I'm 72 model. And
I'm a 74 model, so pretty close.
No way.
There you go.
Youngster.
Yes, we're very young. Very young. Look at us both.
Young at heart. Young at heart.
Exactly.
I've got a triathlon coming up at the World Champ, so I do triathlon.
Oh, congratulations. That's very exciting. So you actually are fast. So
No. Back in the day was competitive. Now I used to compete. Now I just complete. Now I just if I finish the race now, Jen, would not that I pull out of any, but it's I'm the back of the packer. Have you ever read the book The Courage to Start by John Bingham?
No, I haven't. No. Sounds like I should.
Yeah. So a 60-year-old got overweight, decided one day to do running, and is the back of the packer. And he says he looks for people with fishing club shirts on because they're the best people to run with because they got the best stories about the biggest fish, and it's just that sort of a book
that's where funny.
It is.
Yeah, I love the running community. Like, I'm one of these people who I could probably run faster if I just chatted a bit less. Because I really like chatting with people, and to me, a marathon start line is one of the best places on the whole planet because there's so many people there who have committed to bettering themselves, to doing something that's really difficult. And many people have never done it before. They're so worried about whether they're actually going to do it. And just this sense of excitement and passion and nervousness, and people who are all in there together. And the running community, I find very loving and supportive. Like, even if it means you don't get your own PB, if someone falls over in front of you, you will stop and help them because their well-being is more important than your race time, especially the trail running community. So for my 50th birthday last year, my son and I did an ultra marathon in Central Australia, and just the people, like, we just met so many great people. Amazing people. Incredible.
Wow. So is Courtney DeWalter and people like that, are they sort of motivation or inspiration?
Yeah, 100%. One of the great things about trail running is that a lot of people peak a bit older, not 50s, but people are peaking, older. And women tend to be just as good as men over long distances, which I think is fantastic.
I was going to say they're in some cases quicker. And isn't that great, given where we were 50 years ago, where we thought that women couldn't run a marathon for genetic and biological reasons? Unbelievable.
It's incredible.
Go the pioneering women. Go the pioneering.
Exactly. So I'm very happy to be following in their footsteps, just a lot more slowly than their footsteps were.
Stop it. Give yourself a rap. 4 hours is a great marathon time.
I haven't done it yet. Jeez, don't jinx me.
Yet. No, I think your son's got you set up for success. Hey, last couple of questions that I always ask people. Have you got, Jen Martin, soon to be Professor Jen Martin, have you got a leadership philosophy? Like, have you got a leadership mantra, a quote, a guiding light from a leadership perspective? We do a lot of leadership coaching and training. It's a question I always ask because as a professor, you're a leader and you've talked about yourself as a leader. Is there something you hang your hat on?
I actually have it printed on our lounge room wall. It's from Barack Obama, and the words are: be kind, be useful, be fearless. And to me, I think that is something to live by. I think kindness is essential. I've absolutely grown up with this sense of privilege. I'm white, I speak English as a first language, I'm heterosexual, I'm cisgender. I have all of these privileges
going for you.
are got to be useful, right? Got to do something on the planet that is useful. But I think sometimes doing the right thing takes courage. So that's why I like the be fearless, because I think often our biggest fears come from inside, not to dismiss or diminish that for a lot of people, they have genuine fears for their safety and their well-being. But, I'm pretty lucky. So for me, a lot of the fears come from my own personal, sense of insecurity and imposterism and worried about getting judged. So this idea of just damn well be fearless and go out and do something useful in the world while being kind to yourself and to other people. To me, Barack Obama really kind of summed it up pretty nicely. So that's what I carry around with me.
Top of the class.
Gosh, he stopped talking.
Top of the class. I know, right? I'm not speechless very often. Be kind, be useful, be fearless. That is best.
Yeah, so it's his quote. Yeah.
Can I use that?
It's good. Oh, it's not mine.
That's a good one. Thanks, Barack. Go the Barack. Now, big question, Jen. Big question to finish off with. I'm in Melbourne in a couple of weeks. If there was someone that you thought would be an outstanding, high quality podcast guest, who would you recommend that I invited to talk to next?
So many.
Too many. I know. Or maybe two. Oh, two's good. I got 3 podcast spots. So and I've hired a studio, and I'm really dirty on myself that you and I didn't do this face to face. Now I just wish that because Deb, beautiful, thank you, Deb, just keeps booking our guests in, which is great, and you can see them piling up on our website, and we've got probably 10 conversations that we still got to edit and get out there.
Yes, and I also run a podcast. I know there's a lot of work in organising guests and editing, and yes, it's a wonderful endeavour, but it is quite time consuming. Yes, I hear you.
So, if there was 1 or 2 humans that you could, I know it's hard because so many amazing humans. Could you recommend someone in Melbourne that would like to come into a studio for an hour and if they're available, and if they're not, no worries. But or we'd do it like this if they're not available. But have you would you mind connecting me with 1 or 2?
The first person who comes to, of course, I'd love to. The first person who comes to mind is someone who I feel like Pollyanna, who I know connected us, may have already recommended. Did Pollyanna recommend Fern Hames?
Sam Haines.
Fern Hames, Fern, Fern Hames.
I don't think so.
Fern is an absolutely extraordinary woman and leader. I've worked together with her in Homeward Bound, which is where I know Pollyanna from. So Fern and I have worked very closely together in Antarctica, supporting other women and non-binary people in STEM to develop their own leadership skills. She is just as good as it comes in terms of a person with integrity and compassion, and understands a lot about cultural safety, because at the moment she's working in a leadership roles in an Indigenous organisation. She's had a number of very different high profile leadership roles within the Australian environment and kind of ecology world, and she's incredible. I just adore spending time with her, and I've learnt so much from watching how she works with people.
Interacts.
Yeah,
she's influenced you through the way that she behaves, led by example.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
But I've got lots. I can recommend plenty of people.
Is that right? You're happy to connect me with 1 or 2 people. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And
absolutely. By the way, a quick shout out to our amazing friend Pollyanna. How beautiful is that human?
What? Absolutely beautiful. Yeah, incredible.
We just had the best time, as you would have seen on the podcast. Like if you watch that, I learned so much about menopause and like all the good stuff, and it was it's just such an open, fun conversation. So
yeah, she is super smart and amazing woman. Totally agree.
Yeah, thank you, Jan. You have been amazing. Thank you.
Thanks so much for inviting me. Thanks to Pollyanna for suggesting it. And yes, I will definitely connect you with a few interesting people that you might want to chat with for sure.
That would be great. So really love it. And I just feel privileged that that I get to speak to a trailblazer. I really do.
Well, Well, a trailblazer in just a little tiny bit of the world over here. But look, I feel very proud to be doing what I'm doing, and the team that I work with are just the smartest, best colleagues in the world. And to have been able to create this great team to be part of, I do truly feel fortunate to get to do what I do. So
That's
it was worth it. It was worth those years of
10 years
challenge.
Shit.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jen. We'll sign off.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening. We just had an amazing guest on to another amazing podcast of Find Your Influence. My name's Anton Guinea, and for 20 years I have been working with, training, coaching and consulting leaders at all levels of organisations. I've coached Gen Z leaders right through to baby boomer leaders. I've done 1,500 one-on-one leadership coaching sessions. My mission on this planet is to help leaders create high-performing and psychologically safe teams. If you want to upgrade your leadership, upskill your teams, or upskill your leadership, please reach out. You can get me at anton@theguineagroup.com.au. Please tune into our next episode. These podcast chats are amazing. The value and the information that you get will help you be more influential and help you be a better leader.